discussion. What is the future of the euro? From the point of we expect from our speakers that we'll also touch a little bit the crisis that is spreading all around, the financial crisis and also economical crisis spreading all around Europe. So
this seminar is about the euro and its future. And that is, as everyone knows, something that is really on the agenda of the economic situation in Europe now. I don't know, however, how many of you that remembers that 10 years ago, in 2000, the European Union adopted something called the Lisbon Strategy. Does anyone remember what that was about? Well, I shall spare you the details, but the outcome, the main goal of that strategy was to make European Union the most prosperous and the most competitive economic area in the world. Well, my friends, we are in the position that we can judge history. And if we now look back in the 10 years, to the 10 years who have passed, and look at the European Union region, and look at all the main macroeconomic data, unemployment, GDP, productivity growth, if we do that, and I have done that, you come up with a very, very simple result. There is one region that has performed worse than all others, and that is Europe, and especially the euro area. Now, is this due to the euro, or has the euro any role in this? My conviction is that yes. And that conviction comes out of the simple insight from economic theory that with the adoption of one currency among many countries, you lose a couple of very important macroeconomic stabilizers. The first is, of course, the exchange rate. You simply have, with a currency, it's the same situation as if you have had a fixed exchange rate between all the countries, participant countries. That's the one mechanism you use. The second mechanism you use is to have your own rate of interest, because you can have only one centrally determined rate of interest by the central bank. The loss of these two adjustment mechanisms leads, in theory, to a need for compensational mechanism. Now, what can compensate for these mechanisms? Essentially, there are three items. The first, if you don't have an exchange rate mechanism that can adjust all the differences in productivity and costs that always will occur between regions, factories, countries, then you have to substitute that with more adjustable wages. That's the first thing. If you can't adjust by exchange rate mechanism, then you must adjust with wages. And what we are seeing now in countries like Spain, I don't know about Ireland, we'll hear about that later, and also in countries that are not members but are trying to be members of the euro, for instance the Baltic states, is that when they lack the exchange rate mechanism, they have to resort to changes in wages. It can work, but socially, in 99 cases out of hundreds, it's more painful, it creates more losses. The second possibility of when you don't have rate of interest and exchange rate is that you have income transfer. between regions. That is, if one region is particularly hurt by business cycle, by a dip in the economic situation for a specific branch of industry, then you can compensate that with centrally orchestrated subsidies. And that works within countries with a common finance, policy finance also. For instance, in countries, sovereign countries like Sweden, which have a welfare system built with taxes, so that when a region is specifically hurt and the people there get poorer, then they have subsidies from the central government. Now, one problem with the euro area is, of course, that there is no central government, there is no central taxes, there is no common policy of finance. Thus, there are two things missing. The third possibility of compensating is movement of capital and labor. That is, if a region is hurt by a problem, then capital and labor should move to more prosperous regions. Now, that is the solution in the United States, where I have a high degree of mobility between the different states. This solution might work. It's, however, much more difficult in a continent like Europe with 25, 35 different languages. I shall conclude this introduction by stating that I come from a country which has not adopted the euro. And we had a referendum on this matter in 2003, and as you correctly pointed out, I was on the side of advising the Swedish people not to adopt the common currency. There were lots of predictions made.